So one of the first things that's probably the most important about weed scouting, scouting for weeds, is that we need to get out into the field to do it. And there's a number of different devices that you could use to measure your weed density that's out in a field. This is just one of the things that we use on a regular basis, just some pipe that's measured out to 1 meter square. Obviously, the first thing you want to be looking for is what weed species you have out there. So just within this 1 meter square area, you can see we have a pretty weedy area here. Even though these look like they're very small, it's important to know what they are at this stage. This is a young crabgrass plant. There's some water hemp here, one of our most common pigweed species. Another one is ragweed, which is, I think most are pretty familiar with. All of these weeds are not created equal on a competitive basis. Every weed has a different competitive index, is what we call it. And here's some common sunflower. We rank common sunflower as a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. That meaning that common sunflower is about the most competitive species that we have in our weed spectrum in Missouri. And cocklebur is also pretty competitive. It's up there around a 6 or 7 on our 1 to 10 scale. So it's important to know your species and be aware of how competitive they might be with the crop later on, so you can make an informed decision on when to spray. We have a tool that is available free of charge online. It's called the WeedSoft Yield Loss Calculator. And as you go throughout the field looking at the densities in these areas, and you get a feel for what densities of weeds you have in your field, you can then go online free of charge and enter in all those weed densities and how tall the weeds are and what stage of growth the soybean's in, and the calculator will then give you a estimate of yield loss to this point. And I can tell you that in a situation like this, yield loss has already occurred in soybeans. It's probably going to be on the order of 2 to 3 bushels or something like that, but it's going to vary and be dependent on whatever species is out there. Here we have another example. If you just look within this 1 meter square area again, you can see much different from the previous field we just looked at. There are a few giant ragweeds, a few common ragweeds, but other than that, not a whole lot in this area. Our ultimate goal is to get good growth of your soybean crop such that this all canopies, closes over, and that keeps that sun from hitting the soil. Anytime you don't have the sun hitting the soil, then you more than often won't get weed germination. So that's the ultimate goal. Again, if you just look within the confines of this 1 meter square area, you can see there are very few weeds, but there are a few seedlings starting to germinate. But it's pretty safe to say in this scenario that yield loss has not occurred. So I guess in summary, can't scout from the windshield. You got to get out into the field, and you've got to walk your field. We typically recommend walking in a W-shaped pattern throughout your acreage, that which you might see in one place might not be in another place of your field. Early season scouting is critical. After you have determined that you need to make a herbicide application, and after that has occurred, you have a little bit of a time frame where you should be weed free for a while. But as we get more rains later in the season, we have a number of species throughout Missouri that are multiple germination events or multiple flushes. Water hemp's probably the best example of that. So you may have controlled it once, but there can be additional flushes that occur with additional rainfalls. So it just emphasizes the need for scouting later in the season as well.